Forbes India, CNBC-TV18 present India Inc. on the Move. Smart Manufacturing, powered by Rockwell Automation.
Moving on, when we speak of Industry 4.0, we connect the physical world with the digital, using technologies such as artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and cloud computing. In manufacturing and the smart factory, this degree of interconnectedness goes even further with the integration of operational technology and information technology. But with greater connectivity comes a greater risk of security threats. And that's our next topic of discussion. IT-OT convergence, managing cybersecurity risks, where we talk about IT-OT convergence, managing cybersecurity risks, and what could enterprises do today to remain cyber secure while applying innovative IIoT and Industry 4.0 principles. Taking this session forward will be Mr. Ashmit Kumar, Associate Editor, CNBC-TV18. Can we have a round of applause for him, please? Welcome, sir. And to join him, I would like to humbly call upon Mr. Sharad Agrawal, CDIO, JK Tyre and Industries Limited. Can we have a round of applause for him, please? Ms. Mansi Thapar, Divisional Head, Global Cyber Security, Apollo Tyres Limited. A round of applause for the ma'am, please, 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 please. Come on. Thank you. And to join her, Mr. Umesh Mehta, President and CIO, PI Industries. And Ms. Maria Taberna Domingo, Engineering Manager, Cybersecurity, Rockwell Automation. Can we have a huge round of applause for our panelists, please? And to remind you all, this session will be followed by audience Q&A, so please be ready with your questions. Over to you, sir.
Well, to begin with, thank you for that very kind introduction. Post-lunch discussions are always a bit difficult. We try to make it more interesting. And I think it's always difficult to follow in the footsteps of Dr. Gupta. He, in fact, informed us about what it takes to make semiconductors here. And he, of course, is a part of a very strong journey taking things forward, and about how the ministry also is very active as far as semiconductors is concerned. But let's take it a step forward here. We're talking about IT-OT convergence. It's always an exciting space. It's a new area. And of course, anytime we explore new boundaries, there are inherently some risks that perhaps one needs to be aware of. In fact, let me begin by taking this to you, Mr. Agarwal. A recent report by Skybox Security suggested that there are, threw up some interesting numbers. First half of 2021, OT devices and the vulnerabilities there have risen by as much as 46% on a YOY basis. So speaking in that context, how important is it or how significant is it to build resilience and to ensure that these risks are mitigated?
Actually, about the report, I feel vulnerabilities have not increased, their exploitation has increased. They were always there.
Okay.
But we need to be very careful because now we are connecting OT with IT. So risk is increasing manifold because the cyber criminals are looking at ways to exploit you to make money. Their intention is majorly to make money, but otherwise also, you might have read a report that in the coming times, these threats would be so much robust that they can become almost weaponized. Sure. They can do a harm to a human life also. So we have to start pondering what to do and just not go with the flow, but be very, I won't say conservative, but be very careful while taking the next step. Evaluate all the risks and take a very concerted effort towards mitigating them, only then implement. Though productivity increase is the prime objective, but to be safe is equally important. Now we can't even think of riding a vehicle without a helmet. So it's equally important.
That's a very interesting comparison, a helmet or a seat belt going forward, that it's a non-negotiable. Mr. Umesh, if I may come to you, the same question here. That when we're talking about new boundaries, there are obviously new risks. Skybox Security has thrown out some very interesting numbers on vulnerabilities. Again, same question, importance of resilience and ensuring that the risks are mitigated.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank CNBC, Rockwell Automation and Forbes India for having me on this panel. See, any new technology, and for that matter, digital, also brings opportunities and challenges together. Okay, so it is our duty that we move ahead with the opportunities and take care of the challenges also. Similarly, digital has brought a lot of opportunities for the manufacturing sector, but it has also brought the challenges also. Challenges in terms of connecting the OT and IT network. Okay, today, earlier, in fact, around 10 years back, the OT IT networks were air-gapped. They were not talking to each other. But now with cloud coming in, with digital coming in, so we have a lot of opportunities where we can leverage the new age technologies to take benefit of that. But for that, we have to integrate the OT and IT networks. Now, it's as an IT professional or a CISO, so our duty is to protect the assets or information going out. So it is very important that we have mitigation strategies in place to take care of these challenges, especially on the information security.
That's interesting. Mansi, if I can get you in on this conversation again, we're talking about how this is a new space. With 5G, we're expecting IoT, etc., which means even further integration. As we're looking at this new landscape, how do you see manufacturers responding to this convergence going forward?
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, so I think that now manufacturing has really, waken up to cybersecurity. That is a very good thing which has happened because, they really see that there is a lot of cyber attacks happening, especially on manufacturing. Last year to this year, we see a 300% increase where cyber attacks are concerned. So, yeah, so you can say that, yes, everybody is really, ready and geared up. But yes, as Umesh rightly said, that a lot of digitalization is happening. See, before understanding OT and IT convergence, we need to understand that, from where it starts. Now, IT, when we were securing, the first thing is this confidentiality. Then comes the integrity and then the availability. That was the, the triage which we were following, that this is how you need to maintain your cybersecurity posture. Now with OT, what happens? It is reversed. Now with OT, the availability is the top priority, right? Because if my boiler or my robot goes down, I have a huge production loss. So that is the change. So these two together need to, now work together and take IT and OT hand in hand. You can't say that they both are separate. Especially now when the pandemic hit, or as Umesh is saying, there were a lot of automation activities which has happened. So this automation has led, the OT, all reports, everything to be on the office network for better productivity, better understanding. So now I think it is a converged network. We can't say that OT and IT is separate, and manufacturing also understands it. But yes, I think they need to take baby steps to reach the level of the other segments.
That's interesting that we beginning with baby steps right now. Ms. Domingo, if I can get you in on this conversation, that when we're discussing this convergence, how important or how relevant is it, and what are the takeaways of having an OT-centric approach while addressing the subject?
Hi, thank you. I think we need to, like we were talking about the IT-OT convergence, that is a must right now, because we cannot still thinking about our past, that we need to work together, because right now it's not just only IT or OT, the IoT is a reality. So every kind of network needs to join. So why, if we always trust that we have experience and people who has a lot of specialization in different IT profiles, different IT strategies. The same for the OT. The OT people that we have really impressive engineers, industrial engineers, electrical. Why we are not going to have a cyber OT approach? Because right now is what we need. I've seen a lot of organizations, in my experience, that try to achieve the same protocols, the same way to monitor the networks, the same things in the same team. So why we cannot bring together people who can understand what is a proprietary protocol or a mod was not secure, you know. So we need to know that it's the same when I'm coming to the doctor, you know. I want, if I have a stomachache, I want to have someone in to take care of me. So I think it's the same approach. So we need to put all the efforts into bridge that OT-centric approach that I'm kind of not saying that we need to isolate that. We need to work together. But we need to have different profiles in each expertise, because that, it's only going to bring benefits to that, because it's what is necessary right now. We need to know people who understand what is happening inside, understand what is cybersecurity, and works with the IT and all the security perimeters that they build together. So I think, in my opinion, it should be a must right now that everyone needs to think about and needs to start to deploy at his organization.
That's interesting in terms of course, also requiring the right kind of people. We'll come to that question on skilling in just a bit, but Mr. Mehta, if I may come to you on this, one thing that we have established, at least in the first round of question and answers, is that this is something that is here to stay. And this is something that industry will have to square with and then try to leverage from. Speaking of leveraging, I just want to understand and get your perspective on what are the key benefits that you've been able to leverage as a part of this IT-OT convergence.
In fact, a couple of them, both on the, if I talk about manufacturing, so asset utilization, asset efficiency is one use case which we could leverage. The other one was on this ESG and then remote monitoring, and production yield optimization. So these are a couple of the cases which are there, which are very common in the industry, which manufacturing companies are leveraging using the OT-IT technology. And as I said, now OT and IT networks are converged. So we are pulling data, we have the capability of pull the data from our OT systems and IT systems, correlate them, and take out meaningful information. Right now, this was not available. So these are the use cases, or I would say possibilities or opportunities which manufacturing companies have with these new age technologies, so they can leverage.
Ms. Thapar, same question to you. That what are the key benefits that you're hoping to leverage as a part of this convergence?
Yeah, so basically, I think I really consent with what Umesh said. And on top of that, I would add that, it also brings you the AI ML capabilities. It also brings you so that, you can now use those capabilities which we were using in IT to now work on OT and see how the efficiencies can be improved. Secondly, I also feel that, we can leverage cloud now. Because now when we are putting in IT and OT together, so cloud has very ready-made, things available. So very quick turn to market, which was earlier not there, that, you really have to spend a lot of time to get analytics in where OT was concerned. So that is something which can really be leveraged.
Same question, sir, for you. The key benefits that you hope will be like low-hanging fruits that the industry can hope to benefit from.
Most of the things have been covered by my co-panelists, but still I feel the IT way of working can be adopted in OT also. Means the agile way of working. Actually, earlier a project used to be a multi-year project for a greenfield. It used to be a multi-year project, but now if we start thinking of it as an IT project, so we can work in agile, short sprints, deliver a thing. Though the end product can't be ready on the day one, but still we can start sort of innovating in this way of working. Style of working is one. Another is, now we can measure anything, and whatever is measured, only that can be improved. Suppose a person is coming first, you don't know whether he ran that 100 meter in 10 seconds or 11 seconds. How will he set a target of breaking the 9-second barrier? So now everything can be measured, can be available real time. So you can get the insights, you can auto-correct real time. So that's a style of OT, which is getting embraced into, style of IT which is getting embraced into OT. And apart from the predictive maintenance, AI ML use cases, but the list is endless. You just think of it, and that can be done. And the most important thing is, once you have an idea, so there are chances it will get implemented.
In fact, I would like to add what I think there was a very good point he said, that IT, IT practices can be now taken into OT. So yes, so like security by design is something which was always an afterthought where OT is concerned. But yes, because of, convergence, that is something which is taking precedence, which is good.
That's quite interesting. Mr. Agarwal always has some very interesting analogies about setting the 9-second target. But that's interesting to hear. But speaking of analogies and speaking of experiences, Mr. Domingo, let me come to you now. Even as Indian Industries is coming to terms with this being a reality, as you said, that one has to square with and then adapt to that. With your experience, with your global experience, what are some of the critical factors that you think the CISO community should be seized of?
I think that is a good question. First of all, being a CISO in this center is a risk role that I think that we need to appreciate that someone is taking in the company. So being a CISO, it's always you be in the eye of the storm. And of course, adding that we are here with a lot of big key management people who leading big organizations that they are not just only take care of the enterprise network, they need to take care about their core business that are built on the factories, on the plants, on the critical infrastructure. So this is a lot that we need to take care. So right now, what are the critical, I think, journey that a CISO is dealing with? So first of all, like we were talking, we are not in the factories. We need to survive, and we need to know that we are dealing with very old networks, aged networks, that sometimes we have the feeling that being isolated, it's okay. No, being isolated, don't being connected to the network, it means that we don't have eyes there, we don't have visibility. So the first critical thing in these networks is what happens inside. We can have an insider. I've been in a lot of incidents that it started from an insider to through a USB connection to several things. Sometimes not because it was her purpose, but sometimes because it was, a true insider. The second thing is what we are dealing with. All need networks and new needs that the business is happening right now. So we need to connect all the systems because we want to be more efficient. We want to see the processes, how are going. So this is something that it should be critical from the first point. So we need to build security lawyers on the security architecture and bring it a model to can escalate to the others. So we need to focus that important thing also. In the meantime, because this is going to be a long journey, because we are talking about OT process. So this is any project building and deploying in the OT networks, it takes time, and it needs to be mature. So we need to have the patience for that, being a CISO, and we need to invite our colleagues and to be assured that our people from the field, the people who really knows, who if there is any process who stops, they are going to call them. So they are going to have a problem. So they need to feel that as a cybersecurity area, we are with them, that we are building cybersecurity measures and countermeasures for to be better, for to have more information, for to help if there is any cyber attack coming, command and control that maybe it's outside into another server. So anything, it should be considered that this is a journey that we need to do it together. So I think that the most critical right now is the concerns about what is happening with the new connections, with everyone right now, OEMs like Rockwell and other providers want to connect to their systems, to the inside systems. So we need to assure that we are going to be the availability, we are going to be there, no stop processes, but securing the model. So I think take consideration that we are having a lot of attacks like impressive ransomwares that are changing these days, new 0 days that we can control coming from the IT side. And bringing that connection, we need to do it well from the beginning, from the design, because we don't have the excuse right now. We can work from the design point of view because we are building new technologies and new connected services and new processes and new business. So I think that we need to focus on that, in these points.
Interesting. In fact, just yesterday I was at a Digital India Summit where we were discussing some of these cyber risks. And what's interesting is that some of the fintech players there that were present there suggested that the low cost of these attacks and the low quantum of consequences for those initiating these attacks makes it for a very lethal combination because you can keep attacking with limited or low costs and you only have to be right once. So these are some concerns. But speaking of global practices and some of the aspects that India can hope to imbibe and learn from, Mr. Agarwal, coming to you, are there certain global practices that you're aware of or perhaps you would like the CISO community to in fact adapt and learn from some of the other geographies?
Yes, certainly it would be good to learn the global practices.
So if I can just request you to move your mic up a little bit. Yeah.
So we would certainly like to learn the global practices, but we will have to contextualize them to our local area, local geography, and the ways the people work. People are the weakest link in most of the cases. So we'll have to tune to the culture of the people. You can't change the culture overnight, but the ways can be, these global best practices can be tuned. Of late means just another thing I was just reading. So now the era of global practices has gone away. Now these are practices, mostly best suited practices to your environment are the practices that you have to follow. You learn, you hear everyone, then you assimilate and find a way that is best suited to your environment. It can be about people, it can be about technology. You may be having a device which is running on OS which is not supported, but the OE support is also not available. What to do then? You can't just throw that machine away. So we'll have to adapt, we'll have to innovate and find ways which are best suited to us.
Great. Mansi, coming to you now on a slightly different subject. How does an organization get leadership buy-in for this cybersecurity journey?
Wow, that is a, I think, question everybody wants to know. But yes, 5 years back, it was a difficult question. Now I think leadership is already, we have the buy-in. But this is just, I'll take 2 minutes. This statement I always tell to all my seniors to whom I go to take a buy-in, that I ask them, sir, what does brake do to a car? So most of them said, yes, Manji, they, help you stop. But I said, no, sir, they give you speed. Why? Because at the back of the mind, you know that you have brakes, so you can go to 120, 150. Otherwise, you would not have. So all the companies, especially in manufacturing, going on digital transformation, security is that layer, which we provide to them. So that is the first thing that you need to, like I think Maria also rightly said, we need to be the enablers. That is what the executives or the senior management need to know, that security is here with me so that I can progress. We are not doing a policing job. That is something which is very important. Second, most of the senior executives understand numbers. So it's always better to, put it in risk that, sir, why I'm asking a budget for your OT network is because these are your 5 critical areas. And if one of your robot goes down, these are the millions you lose in 4 hours. And the budget I'm asking might mitigate it to 90%. You will get your budget. So those are the 2 things which really work on. And third is, of course, before going to the senior management, have the other stakeholders buy in as well from the business. Make them understand what are the risks we are looking at. And then I think things really fall into place.
On a lighter note, if somebody gets hacked, budget is not an issue.
Exactly.
That's a nice one, sir.
Very interesting. This is my next question is for both Mr. Agarwal and Mr. Mehta. Mr. Mehta, let me come to you first. That as this journey begins of IT convergence, and this is hoping in a best case scenario where leadership is equally invested, what are some of the factors that perhaps need to be borne in mind?
I think first and foremost, there has to be a structured approach when you are connecting the OT network with IT network. Okay, so generally people, they are in a hurry, organizations, to do a single use case without looking at what happens to the environment in this. So there has to be a structured approach. Ideally, we should have a reference architecture for information security for a particular site, and then we go to each asset level. So at a site level, there has to be architecture, then there has to be an asset level, okay, depending upon what asset it is, what kind of information it is storing, what kind of patching it has. So we have to go to the asset level also. Then we should connect the OT network with IT network. Ideally, if you ask me, I think the OT and IT networks should be separate, should have a separate fiber. That I think should be for a CISO. it's a music, but practically it is not possible. But yes, we need to have firewalls. We need to have diodes where we have one-way information flow so that nobody comes inside. The information can go outside. Nobody can come inside. So all those aspects has to be deliberated and have a practical approach and a structured approach before we take up this journey of connecting IT and OT network.
Mr. Agarwal, would you like to add to that some factors that you would bear in mind as we prepare for this convergence?
Actually, sorry for being different views from Mr. Mehta. I think that we shall evaluate our weakest link first. So weakest link can be the old OS running, non-patch systems, non-patchable systems. So probably instead of blocking the entire network, can we think of sort of dividing into two? One, having an air gap which can't be patched. Because if those machines can't be upgraded, how can they be upgraded? Sure. So can we sort of bring them behind our firewall, which they talk to IT, they talk to internet, but to a limited extent only. For the others, the approach which Mr. Mehta was suggesting is the approach. I won't say the best approach, but the only approach. And apart from that, we also need hands on the ground. Skill set is a major issue, had been always a major issue, but of late it has ballooned like anything. So we need hands on the ground who can actually do it for you. It can be your own ecosystem, your partner ecosystem, even we can take help of academia. Plus we can go anywhere to get the people on ground. And of course, to have them coordinated is always needed.
Sure.
Just to add to what Sharad said, Sharad, in fact, you mentioned that we should have the practices of IT in the OT. So the patching part is of that, because we have been patching our IT networks, but we have never looked at our OT systems for patching. Okay, we never upgraded our systems. Okay, so I think that part will be covered when you adopt the practices, the IT practices in the OT side also.
Just one thing which I would like to add is awareness of all the OT segment, because that is something I really see in manufacturing. There is a miss that, people go buy technologies, but because there is no security involved in design, so people are not aware that what they need to look at. They are ready to do it, but they don't know. So I think somewhere down the line, awareness of the organization is something which is very critical.
Just add another point, okay, it was very important for industry also. IT and security professionals were never involved while buying these equipments. Okay, so that I think now organizations are learning, so they have started involving the IT professionals, CISOs, when they are buying these equipments, and so that they also have a view on whether these equipments or assets are IT capable to bring to the IT network or not. So those are the things, right? Earlier it was not used, so they were buying just left, right and center without any information about what kind of ports it has, what kind of ports we have to open, all those things. So that is very important now these days.
Do we see a day where a CISO can say that this equipment is not worth buying because of security vulnerabilities?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course,
absolutely.
we
So
can
in most of the organizations, the CapEx committee has a CISO also approval also as part of that. So they cannot buy an equipment unless and until the CISO approves.
Yeah. That is how it is, that is how manufacturing is progressing towards it. That even if we can't say no, but at least, then otherwise they need to give us a roadmap that by 3 to 6 months, these vulnerabilities will be mitigated. That is how it is working here.
It's interesting. We have a small sandbox here where we're toying with different ideas as to how to take about them. But that's the nature of the convergence, that it's a new space, new threshold, so a lot of new ideas as well. But speaking of ideas, Mr. Mingo, let me come to you. Your core strength, of course, is enabling this convergence. We've seen different strategies being debated, discussed here on the panel. What are your thoughts in terms of the customers preparing for IT-OT convergence? What are the key takeaways for you?
Okay. Yeah, really good discussion. I think I've seen this journey preparation since the last 8 10 years, and it's been changed, It's been changed, I think that it's been changing, and we are adding new technologies. So it happens the same in the cybersecurity. Thanks that we are improving, we are having new key technologies from cybersecurity point of view that understands OT protocols and understands what is happening on the network, and always being part of that. The operational thing is the most important because this is the key process. We need to protect, but it's important to detect, and it's important to proactive detect. To do that, I think that it's been a change of mind that I've been seeing in the past, that everyone was trying from the OT perspective, try to have the better secure architecture, But what I was saying, okay, you think that you have your perfect secure architecture, but do you realize, do you have eyes inside? Do you have someone with real-time monitoring? Do you collect all the information, what is happening inside? And do you correlate this information? Because I don't think that in the past we just try to bring some walls. I'm going to put a perimeter wall. I'm going to try to install an antivirus that is not working in most of the equipment, and I'm struggling this. So because I cannot update the signatures every day. So we've been trying to force, I think, too much from several points. And right now, we've been changing. I think that the focus that the people is and the new organization are trying to focus is how, first, what is happening inside. So the key point is I cannot secure a network if I don't know what is behind that, So this IT-OT convergence start with that. So I know that sometimes it sounds a topic, asset management, vulnerability management, everything's management. But we need to trust that it's important to know what I understand, because most of the factories, the reality is we don't have the perfect network. We have isolated network, we have an OM, we have another OM, we have several brands. Right now, a lot of new suppliers bringing out a lot of new procedures, IoT, new sensors inside. So what we need to know is how we need to understand what is happening in most real time possible. So why we are not aligning most of this information to the business goals of the company, the IT KPI. So we need to bring a unique image, a unique photo, what is happening. And this is, I think, the what is changing. We are the change here I've been seeing, and I agree with that vision is, hey, start to detect everything, to have information, to have a team who can collect all that information, and we are gonna improve the rest of the security lawyers. And how we can prepare to that? First of all, starting to know what is happening inside. Some organization starts for an assessment, and I always say, so don't do an assessment that is going to take, half a year, because you are losing time. You need to react and know what is the key action plans do you need, because sometimes I've been in a lot of different sectors, minings, I've been in water companies, and they are very different. Sometimes they are more mature in secure architecture, it's quite fine, maybe quick wins can be done, but then some others that have a lot of impressive problems with access remote. So you need to focus on that first. So every environment, every situation is different, but I think that is taking approach that, hey, first of all, I need to know what is happening, and I'm gonna start to building my security measures based on that.
Interesting. Mr. Mehta, let me also get you in on this conversation here. When we're speaking of organizations gearing up for this convergence, what are, from a systemic standpoint, from an organizational standpoint, the changes that are required to facilitate this convergence, one, and two, to create an environment where the maximum potential of the merged technologies can be realized?
See, first and foremost, I think education is very important. Okay, so you are converting you're converging two technologies, okay, together, and that knowledge has to be there. Okay, so what can go wrong? Okay, IT networks was different, but OT networks, it can play havoc, especially in the say chemical or pharmaceutical companies. Anything can the equipment can stop. Somebody can release the valve. It can go into the chemical, hazard chemical can go out in the environment. So first of all, I think that understanding has to be there. So it's not easy, and that was one of the reasons I actually was telling that we should have a structured approach. Okay, the knowledge and the structured approach. How do we? It should not happen that we open one tap here and then something goes wrong there. Okay, so that understanding, because it is all connected, connected sensors, connected network, connected IT, OT, anybody can, adversaries, they are always ahead. The bad boys are always ahead of the good boys. So we need to take care of that, okay, and we have to be ahead of the curve so that we plug all the gaps. So that is very important to understand.
Ms. Thapar, same question to you. You mentioned about how to get leadership buy-in, you mentioned about how to get leadership buy-in. Above and beyond that, from an organizational standpoint, some of the changes that you will recommend to ensure that the potential is realized?
Yeah, so first I would say that let us not reinvent the wheel. So there are a lot of best practices like ISO 27001, and in OT networks also there is this NIST 800, which provides you guidelines on how to set up OT security. So that is something which should always be referred at by the organization, because it really gives you clear indication how OT and IT need to converge. So that is something which I really suggest. Second, I think Umesh has rightly said that awareness is the key. Third is, yes, build in your processes the way that at least the new technology which is coming in, security is inbuilt in that. So that the security and IT, in fact, also, both of them sit together along with business and take a decision of what new OT initiatives have been taken on. Fourth is the legacy system, which I think every manufacturing or any other setup, that is the, I don't know, the bone which everybody needs to swallow. And because see, manufacturing setups are always right. So there, our leadership is right by saying that, I can't just, click a button and change my old the machineries which I have. So for that, yes, I think Mr. Agarwal covered that we should have specific solutions which are workarounds where security can be, merged so that the convergence can happen in a proper fashion.
Would you like to add to that, Mr. Agarwal?
I think both of them have covered most of the things. I'm just thinking, but not able to find anything apart from them. Means it shall be all such things shall be treated as greenfield. Think from a clean slate. Put down all your thoughts there, and then you can keep on ticking what is covered, what is pending. Means that typical project management approach needs to be applied. That's all I can add.
Sure. Ms. Thapar, let me come back to you now. When we're talking of developing a cybersecurity and OT cybersecurity strategy, what are the challenges that you think one will face, and how to, in fact, compensate for it and how to meet those challenges?
Yeah, so I think in most of our conversation, we covered most of them. One is, of course, as you rightly mentioned, the executive buy-in. Because, it gets difficult because it might, if you are changing a legacy system, it might involve huge cost and you need to get a lot of budget. So that is one challenge. And I think we discussed how we can overcome it so that we can display the risk to the management and they can really help us support that. Second is, I think she covered very well the skill set. That, mostly we see that OT networks, we have some IT support available, but they don't understand completely the OT networks. So that is something, a big challenge which I see, that the skills are still not available, where how the OT and IT convergence and how the security needs to be managed for OT. So skill is something which is there. So I think we really need to take a lot of initiatives where we develop these skills. And in fact, with the vendors, the vendors who are implementing for us, the supply chain, they also are not so aware that how security should be taken care of, where OT is concerned. So skill set is something which is a major challenge. Third is, of course, legacy networks, which we discussed that, what to do about it and if any security solution is there. Fourth is that IT and OT are separate. So maybe an antivirus, which I have taken on a global level for IT, will not work in OT. So that is a major challenge we see. So yes, but there are products. So I think, and last but not the least, the visibility, as she rightly said, that is there a SOC, is there a security operations center which I can operate for OT? If that is there, that will really bring a lot of visibility, which right now we don't have, especially sitting here and, working with the IT networks. So that is a big challenge which I see, and still I am looking forward to seeing that what solution we have there.
It's interesting. One message that's resonating across all the panelists here is skilling, ensuring that the workforce is informed, educated, taking that forward. Ms. Domingo, let me get your perspective. You were the first one to approach this subject of skilling, of ensuring the right kind of workforce, ensuring that they are adequately skilled and educated on the subject. Your quick thoughts, is there a need felt perhaps from your experience of reskilling the available workforce to help them get better acquainted with the challenges?
Yeah, I think that, like you were saying, it's been hard right now to find and to set these kind of skills. But I think that it's important. I've been in my past. I'm managing the technical team, and I've been doing my last 10 years. So I've been recruiting a lot of people from the IT network and trying to reconduct, but it's essential to have a different kind of skills inside you. So you need to have people based on in electrical, industrial engineers that wants to focus their career in cybersecurity, because this is going to help a lot in the rest of the skills that maybe you are going to have, one more dedicated to the network, the other more dedicated through the threat hunting. The other you are going to have is an incident response team that focus on the other forensics. You need to have different profiles and build a really impressive team that right now I think it's hard to find in the market, but at least.
I have a thought.
You need a different skin set. So IT and OT are different. So when you're talking about the DCS systems or the SCADA system, PLC, somebody should understand those devices or assets. Okay, it's not Windows. It's not simple that okay, you have a computer or a ERP you have to protect. Okay, so it's hardcore assets, manufacturing. Yeah, so you need to have a different sales kit. So ideally, like in CISO organizations, we have verticals, like we have one for GRC, one we have for IT, one we have for incident management. We should also have a vertical which talks about the OT network. And that is what I think the organization, the structure should be under the CISO. So
you were adding something.
So I have a very interesting thought with just listening to Meji. One is, can we institute a KYD, know your device, which lets you know about everything, and probably we need to take this to academia, make this, we can bring in very specialized cases, probably in BCA or computer science engineering, etc. A specialized course, cyber security is a specialization available, but probably limited, not as expensive as we are thinking of. We all need to join hands with the academia to formulate these curricula accordingly. And they shall not be 4-year courses, probably a training of 6 months, so that the skilling can happen and that can be used in the industry.
Just on a different tangent, we're nearing the end of the conversation. Mr. Agarwal, to you, how important and how frequently should one review the IT/OT risk management systems? That's something that I understand, the frequency of that.
One word is continuous. As you can't, as Madam said, that you shall have a SOC in place to monitor it, but from a policy perspective, setting up a frequency means saying it quarterly, reviewing it quarterly or 6 monthly means can't go longer than that. Review is one part from the policy perspective. Monitoring has to be continuous. But ideal answer is the continuous monitoring of the risk, because risks are changing with the minute, with the second.
Sure.
So we have to get a mindset of that criminal mindset, the hacker mindset. We have to think of and try to put themselves in put ourselves in their shoes and think what they might be thinking.
Sure.
So then only we can be a bit safe.
I'm being told that we're nearing the end of this conversation. So for the final comment, I'll go across to you, Ms. Domingo. Rockwell Automation, how are you positioning yourself to cater to this demand that's coming from these enterprises to enable the IT-OT convergence?
I think from Rockwell point of view, we can bring to the market a very high expertise. Why? Because first of all, we build this kind of networks devices, so we understand from a lot of years ago what is happening. So we are not coming from this is new for us, and we know and we understand all the specifications, all protocols, all the things are happening inside. So apart from that, bringing that experience that we have internally as a provider, that we provide a lot of different solutions in the market, we bring and we build a new cybersecurity team who has a lot of expertise on that. We have behind us a lot of years that I've been helping big organizations, critical infrastructures, several regions. I have experience in my case, in the whole EMEA and also, for example, South America. And we are adapting all these strategic frameworks to the, like you were saying, different regulations always is a challenge. And it's something that you need to adapt. But at the end, most of the frameworks that we have today are well-based. So you can take that. But after that, what we can bring to that. So this is not only the strategic, we bring hands. So we can help on to design better playbooks from, for example, your SOC, it's only, I don't know, monitoring the KPIs like, oh, what is your 10 top vulnerabilities from the month? I think that we are not interested anymore in that because we already know what are the all OT network, Edge network that we are having. So what we are bringing here is a little, and a step, behind. So I think that we deal with a lot of technologies, so we can bring a journey to you from the assessment, the detection, and at the end, that incident response and proactive monitoring. So I think that we have a lot of an expertise to, apart from designing architects and deploying countermeasures and key technologies on the market to give more visibility to be better, I think that we also help in the last journey, So we need to apply more playbooks. We need to correlate a lot of information. So we are not bringing to the customer the typical information that anyone can bring if he look a little on his antivirus, the ADR, whatever you can allow to put on your and secure your factories. We are bringing here an expertise, for example, how I'm looking an alert from my anomaly detection I'm seeing some kind of, just something easy, a scan port, but what does it mean that? So we can correlate that with the ADR, but why? In a fast way. Why? Because we need all the data layers to be done, and then we have analysts who are able to understand that this is a DCS, the perfect connection, it's running, this is a protocol that I understand, so my reaction to that anomaly, that alarm that it happens to my dashboard from the operational point of view, it's really, we have a very fast reaction on that and we understand when it's happening. And understanding what is happening, we can, bring, this is, something normal, because I know that is normal because yesterday we have, the vulnerability assessment on site, or this is normal connection because yesterday we have some changes on the network because we upload and download some configurations of PLC. So I think that we can bring that expertise to help, and because we understand how is log management, we understand SOAR technologies because we trust in that, We build and we want to be more efficient from the cybersecurity point of view, monitor detection.
That's interesting. So we have a great wealth of experience and expertise here on our panel. And on that note, I'd like to open it up for a quick Q&A within the audience. We have microphones, I understand, within the audience members. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll make sure that the microphone reaches you, and then you can please introduce yourself. And if you can stand up for the cameras as well, we'll get you on camera. And if you can just pose the quick question. I think we have a question up here. If we can help them with the microphone. Right here.
Yeah, hi, I'm Bimal from SRF, and I have a question to Maria. Is that since Rockwell is working on a lot of OT technologies from past, I don't know how many years, so do you have a strategy for the migration of your old legacy system and building some security aspects on those, like maybe like small things like DA to UA and other technologies?
Yeah. I've been in several organizations that wants to bring that these new projects, and what I've been seeing from that point of view, that at least that we were trying to discuss a little, no, but we need to adapt that this is the situation that is happening. So we can look in the past. So we need to design the new security architectures based on what the business is upcoming and they need. So bringing that security architectures means that we need to focus on all the different networks that I have inside, and that is going to be essential to get the data, because I want to be more efficient. I want to have, we are in the big data moment and the business intelligence moment, so we need to bring these technologies to our processes, because we want to focus on the key point here, that we are working, we know our business, and we want to continue being better. So I think that conversion means that we need to adapt, but not just only on technologies. We need to adapt in the government. We need to adapt to the regulations. We need to adapt also that we, like we were saying, I have a policy for the typical topic that it's bad management and all the things. So, but it's not, we are not taking care of the IT side. We need to work together and maybe to have a main policy from each part, how I'm gonna secure the access to the OT network, because everyone wants to access, because everyone has his own OM, his own provider who needs the monitoring 24/7, because I'm paying for that, So we need to, first step, do the high level policy, high-level governments to work together, and then do the specifications behind that. And I think that it's a must right now. So we should work on that. And I'm seeing a lot of organizations that been done that in the last 3-4 years, and it's working. So I think that, and they improve a lot the cybersecurity. They have more vision. They detect more, and they are, not just only ready for cyber attacks, because we need to assume that everyone is going to be attacked, So sometimes it's most of the lawyers, we have a very high level attacks right now coming from in-purpose, from different ransomware. So everyone is just that I secure all the perimeter, but then I have a little mistake in one policy in my firewall. So I think it's important that this convergence needs to work from people, from processes, and technology. So I think that we need to have this conversion to everything, and brings and to the most of the customers that I've been seeing.
Do we have another question? I think we have another question right here.
My question is to Maria. I'm from JK Lakshmi Cement. Taking my friend's question forward, I wish to know, as a Rockwell Automation as a service provider, do you have any revival plans or mitigation plans in case of cyber attack on OT layer?
In the what? Sorry, I don't understand yet.
Mitigation plans. In
Revival.
incident.
Yeah. So from Rockwell Automation perspective, we are having right now, we work in our cybersecurity SOC services that is gonna bring in soon. We've been working in a team that brings 24/7 cybersecurity services around the world, and we also been working very closely in an incident response team to deal with, to be part of this of our services. So we are working right now on that, and of course for us this is a key point, because at the end, like we were saying, you need to have several skills based on your organization and in your plans, and this is something that we are working right now, and it's a new services that we are bringing to our customers.
Thank you.
With that, I would think it's time for curtains on this panel discussion. I'd like to thank all of our guests, Mr. Agarwal, Ms. Thapar, Mr. Mehta, Mr. Mingo. Thank you so much for sharing your insight and perspective.
Thank you.
It's been an interesting 60 minutes. We hope to continue this conversation again next year. Thank you for being a part of India Inc. on the Move. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Forbes India, CNBC-TV18 present India Inc. on the Move. Smart manufacturing, powered by Rockwell Automation.